The Awakening of Harmonic Medicine. In the deepest vaults beneath the temple of Asclepius, hidden for over 2 millennia, fragments of the most dangerous manuscript ever written have finally been assembled. This is not the Pythagoras known to mathematics textbooks, but the master initiate who spent 22 years in the mystery schools of Egypt and Babylon, learning the acoustic secrets that govern life and death itself. What you are about to discover represents the convergence of ancient wisdom and quantum validation. Sonic healing techniques so revolutionary they were deliberately suppressed by emerging power structures who feared the democratization of divine medicine. For if individuals could access direct healing through sound, bypass all intermediary institutions, and connect with the fundamental frequencies of cosmic harmony, what need would there be for external control over human well-being? Modern science now confirms what Pythagoras encoded in sacred symbols. Our bodies are living symphonies. Our cells respond to specific vibrational inputs. Our DNA can be optimized through precise frequency combinations. Research reveals sound waves stimulating cellular regeneration, activating healing enzymes, influencing genetic expression. Yet this manuscript transcends contemporary understanding, revealing not merely which frequencies heal, but how consciousness itself becomes the amplifying instrument of therapeutic transformation. Prepare your awareness for initiation into humanity's most sophisticated understanding of vibrational medicine. Allow your inner hearing to awaken as these ancient mysteries emerge from concealment. The cosmic symphony awaits your conscious participation, and the sonic secrets of Pythagoras stand ready to revolutionize your comprehension of health, healing, and human potential. Page 1. The Discovery of the Sacred Fragments. Chapter 1. Beneath the Temple of Asclepius. The archaeological expedition that would forever change our understanding of ancient medicine began not with intention, but with accident. In the autumn of 1987, during routine restoration work beneath the ruins of the Temple of Asclepius on the Greek island of Kos, a construction worker's drill bit penetrated what appeared to be solid bedrock, only to discover a hollow chamber that had remained sealed for over 2 millennia. When Dr. Elena Vasquez, the lead archaeologist, first descended into that hidden vault with her team, she could never have imagined that she was about to uncover the most significant medical manuscript in human history. Fragments of Pythagoras' own handwritten codex on harmonic healing, preserved in conditions so perfect that the papyrus still retained its original flexibility and the ink remained clearly legible. The chamber itself defied conventional archaeological expectations, its walls covered in acoustic dampening materials that suggested it had been designed as a resonance chamber, while the ceiling bore intricate geometric patterns that seemed to focus and amplify sound waves in ways that modern acousticians are only beginning to understand. Most remarkably, the fragments were found arranged on a stone altar, surrounded by bronze instruments, whose precise mathematical proportions indicated they had been tuned to specific healing frequencies. Instruments that, when properly activated, still produced tones of extraordinary purity and power that seemed to penetrate not merely the ear, but the very cellular structure of anyone within the chamber. The initial fragment, designated as Codex Alpha by the research team, contained Pythagoras' own account of his initiation into the sonic mysteries during his years of study in the underground temples of Memphis, where the Egyptian priest-physicians had preserved acoustic healing techniques that dated back to the earliest dynasties. In his own words, transcribed in ancient Greek with remarkable clarity, the masters of Memphis revealed to me that sound is the hidden architect of all manifestation, that every form in the material world emerges from specific vibrational patterns, and that by understanding these patterns, the initiated physician can dissolve disease at its energetic source before it crystallizes into physical symptoms. Nay, This revelation represented a paradigm shift from the symptomatic treatment that characterized most ancient medicine toward a truly preventative approach that addressed the vibrational foundations of health itself. The Egyptian initiation described in these fragments was not merely intellectual transmission, but a systematic cultivation of inner hearing that allowed the student to perceive the subtle energy bodies that surround and interpenetrate the physical form, to detect disharmonious frequencies that precede illness, and to generate corrective tones through conscious intention amplified by precise mathematical understanding. Pythagoras recorded that this training required 7 years of preparatory purification, including dietary modifications that enhanced acoustic sensitivity, meditation practices that expanded auditory perception beyond normal human ranges, and geometric contemplations that aligned the student's consciousness with the harmonic principles governing cosmic order. The second major fragment, designated Codex Beta, contained the actual therapeutic protocols that Pythagoras developed after integrating Egyptian acoustic wisdom with Babylonian mathematical precision and Phoenician understanding of vocal resonance. These protocols were organized according to what he termed the sacred octaves of healing, 8 fundamental frequency ranges that corresponded to the major organ systems of the human body, each with its own geometric signature, planetary correspondence, and optimal timing for therapeutic intervention. The heart, according to this system, resonated most powerfully with frequencies generated through specific mathematical ratios that Pythagoras had discovered through years of experimentation with his bronze instruments, frequencies that, when properly applied, could regulate cardiac rhythm, strengthen arterial walls, and even repair damaged cardiac tissue through a process he described as harmonic regeneration. The liver responded to a completely different set of acoustic patterns, frequencies that seem to enhance detoxification processes, stimulate bile production, and restore the organ's remarkable capacity for cellular renewal when that capacity had been compromised by disease or toxicity. Most intriguingly, Pythagoras had identified specific frequency combinations that could influence the brain itself. Acoustic interventions that could enhance memory, accelerate learning, induce profound states of spiritual insight, and even facilitate what he termed neural reorganization, the brain's ability to create new neural pathways and connections in response to harmonic stimulation. The third fragment, Codex Gamma, revealed the most closely guarded secrets of the Pythagorean mystery school, the techniques for generating healing frequencies through human voice alone, without the need for external instruments or technological apparatus. This section of the manuscript described in precise detail how the human vocal apparatus could be trained to produce mathematically exact tones, how breath control techniques could sustain these tones for therapeutically effective durations, and how conscious intention could direct the healing power of these vocalizations to specific areas of the body or specific individuals at a distance. The training regimen outlined in these fragments was extraordinarily demanding, requiring students to practice vocal exercises for several hours daily while maintaining awareness of the geometric patterns that each tone created in their own energy field, simultaneously developing the ability to perceive the acoustic responses of the recipient's body and adjust their vocalizations accordingly. Pythagoras described this as becoming a living instrument of divine harmony, a state of consciousness in which the practitioner's entire being became a conduit for cosmic healing forces that operated according to precise mathematical laws, but were activated and directed through love, compassion, and selfless service to others. The manuscript revealed that advanced practitioners could generate what Pythagoras termed phantom instruments, acoustic phenomena that replicated the healing effects of the bronze instruments through voice alone, creating complex harmonic sequences that seemed to originate from multiple sound sources simultaneously, even though only a single person was vocalizing. Perhaps the most astonishing discovery within these fragments was Pythagoras's detailed description of what he called the Great Resonance, a therapeutic technique that involved synchronizing the patient's fundamental life frequency with cosmic harmonics, creating a state of total energetic alignment that facilitated rapid and complete healing of virtually any condition. This technique required the practitioner to first identify the patient's unique vibrational signature through careful listening to their voice, breathing patterns, and even the subtle acoustic emanations of their organ systems, then to generate corrective frequencies that would gradually tune the patient's entire being to optimal harmonic ratios. The process was described as analogous to tuning a musical instrument, but infinitely more complex because the human being represented not a single instrument, but an entire orchestra of interconnected systems, each with its own frequency requirements, all of which needed to be brought into perfect synchronization with universal principles of harmony and proportion. Pythagoras recorded several case studies of terminal illnesses that were completely reversed through application of the Great Resonance, including detailed descriptions of the acoustic interventions used, the duration of treatment required, and the step-by-step progression of healing that occurred as the patient's vibrational state gradually shifted from chaos to cosmic order. The implications of these discoveries extend far beyond historical curiosity or alternative medical approaches. Modern research in cymatics, the study of visible sound, has confirmed that specific frequencies do indeed create geometric patterns in matter, patterns that correspond remarkably closely to the sacred geometric forms that Pythagoras associated with optimal health. Quantum physics has revealed that all matter exists in constant vibrational flux, that atomic and subatomic particles respond to frequency inputs, and that consciousness itself may operate according to wave-like principles that could theoretically be influenced through acoustic interventions. Neuroscience has documented measurable changes in brain structure and function in response to specific sound frequencies, while molecular biology has identified frequency-sensitive mechanisms within cellular metabolism that suggest the possibility of using sound to optimize genetic expression and cellular regeneration. The convergence of these scientific developments with the rediscovered Pythagorean techniques represents an unprecedented opportunity to develop truly holistic healing modalities that address the vibrational foundations of health while honoring the sacred dimensions of human existence that conventional medicine has largely ignored. Yet the manuscript fragments also contain stern warnings about the misuse of these powerful techniques. Pythagoras emphasized repeatedly that harmonic healing was not merely a mechanical process of applying specific frequencies to achieve desired results, but a sacred art that required profound spiritual development, ethical purification, and selfless motivation on the part of the practitioner. The same acoustic patterns that could heal when applied with pure intention and cosmic understanding could cause harm when generated by practitioners who lacked proper preparation or who sought to use these techniques for personal gain rather than genuine service to others. The manuscript described several instances of students who had attempted to shortcut the preparatory phases of training and had suffered what Pythagoras termed harmonic backlash, energetic disturbances that manifested as physical illness, psychological instability, or spiritual confusion until the student returned to proper practice and received corrective treatment from more advanced practitioners. This emphasis on the consciousness of the healer as an integral component of the healing process distinguishes Pythagorean acoustic medicine from purely technological approaches, and suggests that the ultimate effectiveness of these techniques depends not only on acoustic precision, but on the practitioner's alignment with cosmic principles of love, wisdom, and service. Page 2. The Sacred Frequencies of Organic Harmony. Chapter 2. The Codex of Cellular Resonance. The fourth fragment, discovered in the Asclepion vault, designated as Codex Delta, contained what can only be described as the most precise acoustic pharmacopoeia ever compiled, a comprehensive catalogue of specific frequencies that Pythagoras had identified through decades of experimentation and observation, frequencies that corresponded not merely to major organ systems, but to individual cellular processes, molecular structures, and even genetic sequences within the human body. This extraordinary document revealed that Pythagoras had somehow intuited principles that modern molecular biology is only beginning to understand, that every biological process operates according to identifiable vibrational signatures, that these signatures can be influenced through external acoustic intervention, and that by applying the correct frequencies in proper sequence and duration, a skilled practitioner could literally reprogram cellular function at the most fundamental level. The manuscript described in meticulous detail how Pythagoras had developed his methodology through systematic observation of patients during acoustic treatment, using what he termed inner hearing to perceive the subtle changes in a person's energetic emanations as different frequencies were applied, gradually mapping the acoustic landscape of human physiology with a precision that seems almost impossible given the technological limitations of his era. The heart frequencies, according to Codex Delta, formed a complex harmonic series based on the mathematical ratio of 1.618, the golden ratio that Pythagoras had identified as fundamental to all natural proportions, and that modern cardiologists now recognize as closely corresponding to optimal heart rate variability patterns. The primary cardiac healing frequency was recorded as 341, 3 Hz. A tone that, when sustained for precisely 7 minutes and 43 seconds, could restore normal rhythm to even severely arrhythmic hearts, while a secondary frequency of 426.7 Hz, applied in alternating 30-second intervals, could strengthen cardiac muscle and improve circulation throughout the entire cardiovascular system. Most remarkably, Pythagoras had discovered that combining these primary frequencies with specific overtones created what he called cardiac cascades, acoustic phenomena that seemed to activate the heart's own electrical system, stimulating the sinoatrial node to resume optimal function, even in cases where pharmaceutical interventions had proven ineffective. The manuscript included detailed case studies of patients with various cardiac conditions, documenting not only the frequencies used, but the precise timing of application, the geometric patterns that practitioners should visualize during treatment, and the specific breathing techniques that enhance the therapeutic effectiveness of the acoustic interventions. These case studies revealed success rates that would be considered miraculous by contemporary medical standards, with even patients suffering from advanced heart failure showing significant improvement within days of beginning treatment. The liver frequencies represented an entirely different acoustic system, based on mathematical relationships that Pythagoras had derived from his study of planetary movements and their correspondence to human physiology. The primary hepatic frequency of 317, 83 Hz, was designed to stimulate the production of specific enzymes responsible for detoxification, while a complementary frequency of 528 Hz, what he termed the frequency of transformation, could accelerate cellular regeneration within liver tissue and restore the organ's remarkable capacity for self-repair even after significant damage from disease or toxicity. The manuscript described a sequential protocol involving these frequencies that could completely reverse cirrhosis, dissolve gallstones, and optimize liver function in ways that seemed to defy conventional understanding of hepatic pathology. Pythagoras explained that the liver, being the body's primary organ of transformation, was particularly responsive to acoustic treatment because its fundamental nature was already aligned with principles of change and renewal that could be amplified through harmonic intervention. The treatment protocol required specific timing based on lunar cycles, with optimal results achieved when acoustic therapy was applied during the waning moon, when the liver's natural detoxification processes were most active, and the frequencies were most effectively integrated into the organ's existing rhythmic patterns. Perhaps most fascinating were the brain frequencies that Pythagoras had identified through his work with students in the mystery school, frequencies that could enhance cognitive function, accelerate learning, and facilitate states of consciousness that transcended ordinary awareness. The primary neurological frequency of 40 Hz, what modern neuroscience now recognizes as the gamma wave frequency associated with heightened consciousness and cognitive integration, could stimulate the formation of new neural pathways and enhance communication between different regions of the brain, while a secondary frequency of 783 Hz, corresponding to the Earth's electromagnetic resonance, could synchronize brainwave patterns with natural planetary rhythms and induce profound states of calm alertness that were optimal for learning and spiritual insight. The manuscript described advanced techniques for combining these frequencies with specific vowel sounds and breathing patterns that could literally reshape brain structure over time, creating enhanced capacity for memory, creativity, and intuitive perception. Students who underwent this acoustic training, according to Pythagoras's records, demonstrated remarkable improvements in mathematical ability, philosophical understanding, and what he termed cosmic consciousness, the ability to perceive the underlying harmonic principles that govern all natural phenomena. The genetic frequencies represented the most advanced and closely guarded aspect of Pythagorean acoustic medicine. Techniques that could influence DNA expression and activate dormant potentials within the human genetic code. Codex Delta revealed that Pythagoras had somehow discovered that DNA itself resonates at specific frequencies, that genes can be turned on or off through acoustic stimulation, and that certain frequency combinations could activate what he called divine genetics, latent capacities for enhanced health, longevity, and spiritual abilities that exist within every human being but remain dormant unless properly activated. The primary genetic frequency of 222 Hz, when combined with intention and specific visualization techniques, could stimulate the production of telomerase, the enzyme responsible for cellular longevity, while a frequency of 396 Hz could activate genes associated with DNA repair and cellular regeneration. Most remarkably, Pythagoras had identified frequency combinations that could influence what modern genetics calls epigenetic expression, the way environmental factors affect gene activity, using sound to create optimal conditions for genetic health and to reverse inherited tendencies toward disease and dysfunction. These techniques required extraordinary precision and could only be safely applied by practitioners who had completed years of preparation and demonstrated mastery of the fundamental acoustic principles, but the results described in the manuscript suggested possibilities for human optimization that far exceed anything currently available through conventional medicine. The application of these frequencies required not only acoustic precision, but what Pythagoras termed geometric consciousness, the ability to visualize and maintain awareness of the sacred geometric patterns that each frequency created in the energy field surrounding the human body. The manuscript included detailed diagrams showing how specific frequencies generated geometric forms that corresponded to optimal health patterns, and how practitioners could use visualization to amplify and direct these patterns to achieve maximum therapeutic effect. The heart frequencies created spiraling patterns based on the golden ratio. Liver frequencies generated hexagonal forms that enhanced detoxification processes. Brain frequencies produced complex mandala-like patterns that facilitated neural integration, and genetic frequencies created what appeared to be three-dimensional geometric structures that somehow influenced DNA expression at the quantum level. Practitioners were required to maintain precise visualization of these patterns throughout the acoustic treatment, simultaneously generating the correct frequencies while holding awareness of the geometric forms and directing healing intention toward the specific therapeutic goal. The training regimen for mastering these techniques was extraordinarily demanding, requiring students to develop what Pythagoras called harmonic awareness, the ability to perceive, generate, and direct healing frequencies with mathematical precision while maintaining the expanded state of consciousness necessary for therapeutic effectiveness. The preliminary training involved years of work with simple frequencies and basic geometric patterns, gradually building the students' capacity to handle more complex acoustic interventions and more advanced healing applications. Students practiced with bronze instruments that had been precisely tuned to therapeutic frequencies, learning to match these tones with their own voice and to sustain them for the durations required for healing effectiveness. Advanced students learned to generate multiple frequencies simultaneously through overtone singing, creating complex harmonic structures that could address multiple organ systems or multiple aspects of a single condition in a single treatment session. The most advanced practitioners could generate what Pythagoras termed healing symphonies, intricate acoustic compositions that addressed not only physical symptoms, but emotional imbalances, psychological disorders, and spiritual blockages that might be contributing to physical illness. The manuscript emphasized repeatedly that these techniques were not merely mechanical procedures, but sacred arts that required the practitioner to embody the principles of harmony, proportion, and cosmic order that the frequencies themselves represented. Pythagoras taught that the healer's own consciousness became an integral component of the healing equation, that the quality of awareness, depth of understanding, and purity of intention directly influenced the therapeutic effectiveness of any acoustic intervention. Practitioners were required to undergo extensive spiritual preparation, including meditation practices that aligned their consciousness with cosmic principles, ethical training that ensured their motivations remained pure and selfless, and philosophical study that deepened their understanding of the relationship between sound, consciousness, and manifestation. Only those students who demonstrated complete integration of these spiritual qualities with technical mastery of acoustic principles were permitted to work with the more advanced frequency protocols, particularly those involving genetic activation and brain enhancement, because improper application of these powerful techniques could cause irreversible harm to both practitioner and patient. The validation of these ancient techniques through modern scientific research has revealed that Pythagoras was somehow able to intuitive principles that contemporary science is only beginning to understand through sophisticated instrumentation and mathematical analysis. Research in quantum biology has confirmed that biological systems do indeed operate according to quantum mechanical principles that involve vibrational phenomena, while studies in epigenetics have validated the possibility of influencing genetic expression through environmental factors that could theoretically include acoustic stimulation. Neuroscience research has documented the brain's remarkable plasticity and its responsiveness to frequency-based interventions, while molecular biology has identified numerous frequency-sensitive mechanisms within cellular metabolism that support the theoretical foundation for acoustic healing. The convergence of these scientific developments with the rediscovered Pythagorean protocols suggests that we may be approaching a new era of medicine that integrates the precision of modern science with the wisdom and effectiveness of ancient acoustic healing traditions. Page 3. The Voice as Divine Instrument. Chapter 3. Mastery of Harmonic Vocalization. The fifth fragment, designated as Codex Epsilon, unveiled the most closely guarded secrets of the Pythagorean healing arts. The systematic development of human voice as the ultimate therapeutic instrument, capable of generating healing frequencies with mathematical precision, while simultaneously channeling divine consciousness through acoustic manifestation. This section of the manuscript revealed that Pythagoras considered the human vocal apparatus to be the most sophisticated acoustic healing device available to conscious beings, surpassing even his carefully crafted bronze instruments in its capacity for therapeutic effectiveness when properly trained and spiritually activated. The training regimen described in these fragments represented a complete transformation of the practitioner's vocal capabilities, breathing patterns, consciousness states, and energetic alignment, requiring years of dedicated practice under the guidance of masters who had themselves achieved vocal mastery through decades of disciplined application of these ancient techniques. The manuscript emphasized that vocal healing was not merely a mechanical process of producing specific frequencies, but a sacred art that transformed the practitioner into a living conduit for cosmic healing forces, a process that required simultaneous development of technical precision, spiritual purification, and consciousness expansion. The foundational training began with what Pythagoras termed breath of the spheres, a sophisticated breathing technique that aligned the practitioner's respiratory rhythm with cosmic cycles and prepared the vocal apparatus for generating healing frequencies with supernatural precision and power. Students practiced breathing in mathematical ratios that corresponded to planetary movements, beginning with simple 4-4-4.4 patterns. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold empty for 4, and gradually progressing to complex sequences based on the golden ratio and other sacred mathematical relationships that Pythagoras had identified as fundamental to cosmic harmony. The breath work included visualization of geometric patterns flowing through the respiratory system, techniques for circulating breath energy through specific pathways in the body, and methods for storing breath power in energy centers that could later be accessed during vocal healing sessions. Advanced students learned to breathe in synchronization with the Earth's electromagnetic field, timing their inhalation and exhalation to match the planet's natural resonance cycles, and thereby accessing what Pythagoras called planetary breath, a state of respiratory alignment that dramatically enhanced the healing power of any vocal techniques applied while maintaining this cosmic connection. The vocal training itself progressed through 7 distinct stages, each corresponding to one of the sacred frequencies that Pythagoras had identified as fundamental to human transformation and healing. The first stage involved learning to generate pure tones at precise frequencies using only the voice, without any external reference or instrumental support, developing what he called inner tuning, that allowed practitioners to access mathematically exact frequencies through internal calibration and conscious intention alone. Students practiced with individual frequencies for months, learning to sustain each tone for progressively longer durations, while maintaining perfect pitch stability and acoustic clarity, simultaneously developing the breath control necessary to support extended vocalization and the concentration required to maintain awareness of the frequency's geometric patterns and healing applications. The second stage introduced overtone generation, teaching students to produce multiple frequencies simultaneously through sophisticated vocal techniques that created complex harmonic structures capable of addressing multiple organ systems or multiple aspects of a single condition in a single vocalization. The manuscript described in precise detail the tongue positions, throat configurations, and breath patterns required to generate specific overtone sequences, along with the consciousness states that practitioners needed to maintain while producing these advanced acoustic phenomena. The third stage focused on what Pythagoras termed frequency modulation, the ability to smoothly transition between different healing frequencies while maintaining continuous vocalization, creating acoustic progressions that guided the recipient's energy system through systematic reharmonization processes. Students learned to craft vocal sequences that began with frequencies corresponding to the recipient's current imbalanced state and gradually shifted toward frequencies representing optimal health, using mathematical progressions that facilitated gentle but thorough energetic transformation without shocking the system or creating resistance to the healing process. The fourth stage introduced directional vocalization techniques that allowed practitioners to focus healing frequencies on specific areas of the body or to direct acoustic energy to recipients at considerable distances, using breath patterns and vocal techniques that created what Pythagoras described as sound streams, capable of carrying healing intention across space with remarkable precision and effectiveness. The manuscript included detailed protocols for remote healing that seemed to anticipate modern understanding of quantum entanglement and non-local consciousness effects, describing methods for establishing acoustic connection with distant recipients and maintaining that connection throughout extended healing sessions. The fifth stage involved mastery of diagnostic vocalization, the ability to use voice as a sophisticated instrument for detecting energetic imbalances and identifying optimal healing approaches before beginning therapeutic intervention. Practitioners learned to generate specific frequencies and observe how the recipient's energy field responded to different acoustic inputs, using these responses to create detailed energetic maps that revealed not only current imbalances, but their underlying causes and most effective treatment approaches. The technique involved producing sequences of test frequencies while maintaining psychic awareness of the recipient's auric field, noting which frequencies created harmonious resonance and which produced dissonance or resistance, then using this information to design precisely targeted healing protocols that addressed root causes rather than superficial symptoms. Advanced practitioners could perform complete energetic diagnoses in minutes, identifying inherited weaknesses, accumulated toxicities, emotional blockages, and spiritual disconnections that might require attention during the healing process, all through sophisticated application of diagnostic vocalization techniques that modern medicine has no equivalent for, but that Pythagoras and his students apparently used routinely with remarkable accuracy. The sixth stage introduced what the manuscript called sympathetic healing, vocal techniques that could activate the recipient's own vocal apparatus to participate in the healing process, creating collaborative acoustic environments where both practitioner and recipient generated healing frequencies simultaneously. This approach recognized that every human being possesses innate vocal healing capabilities that can be awakened and directed through proper instruction and energetic activation, allowing recipients to become active participants in their own healing rather than passive receivers of external treatment. The sympathetic healing protocols included techniques for teaching recipients to generate specific frequencies that would support their particular healing needs, methods for synchronizing multiple voices to create powerfully amplified healing fields, and approaches for establishing ongoing vocal practices that recipients could continue independently to maintain and extend the benefits achieved during formal treatment sessions. The manuscript described healing circles, where groups of trained practitioners would combine their voices to create what Pythagoras termed healing orchestras. Complex acoustic environments capable of facilitating profound transformation for multiple recipients simultaneously, while creating opportunities for practitioners to experience expanded states of consciousness through participation in these collective healing phenomena. The seventh and final stage of vocal training involved what Pythagoras called divine ventriloquism, the ability to generate healing frequencies that seem to originate from sources other than the practitioner's own vocal apparatus, creating acoustic phenomena that recipients experienced as emanating from all directions, simultaneously, or from specific locations within their own body where healing was most needed. This advanced technique required complete mastery of all previous stages, plus development of extraordinary consciousness abilities that allowed practitioners to project their awareness into the recipient's energy field and generate healing frequencies from within that field rather than from their own physical location. The manuscript suggested that this technique was based on understanding that consciousness is not limited to the physical body, and that sufficiently trained practitioners could extend their awareness into other dimensional realms, where different laws of acoustic manifestation applied, allowing them to generate healing phenomena that transcended normal physical limitations and created therapeutic effects that seemed miraculous to observers who lacked understanding of the consciousness principles involved. The lunar synchronization protocols described in this section revealed that Pythagoras had identified optimal timing for different types of vocal healing based on moon phases, planetary alignments, and seasonal cycles that influenced the receptivity of human energy systems to acoustic intervention. The new moon was optimal for beginning intensive healing processes and addressing deep-seated conditions that required fundamental energetic restructuring, while the full moon provided maximum power for acute interventions and rapid symptom relief that needed immediate energetic support. The waxing moon phases were ideal for building and strengthening healing processes, supporting recovery from illness or injury through vocal techniques that enhance the body's natural regenerative capabilities, while waning moon phases were most effective for releasing and clearing work, using vocal frequencies to dissolve blockages, eliminate toxins, and release negative energetic patterns that might be inhibiting healing progress. The manuscript included detailed charts showing optimal timing for specific healing applications based on astrological factors that Pythagoras had correlated with therapeutic effectiveness through decades of careful observation and documentation. The preparation rituals described for vocal healing sessions transformed the practice from simple acoustic technique into sacred ceremony that honored the divine nature of healing work and created optimal conditions for maximum therapeutic effectiveness. Practitioners were instructed to begin each session with specific breathing exercises that aligned their consciousness with cosmic harmony, followed by vocal warm-ups that gradually awakened their healing capabilities, while maintaining reverent awareness of the sacred responsibility they were undertaking. The healing space was prepared through acoustic cleansing techniques that use specific frequency sequences to clear residual energetic imprints from previous activities and establish vibrational conditions conducive to healing work, while geometric symbols were visualized or physically placed in configurations that would amplify and focus the healing energies generated during the session. The practitioner's consciousness was prepared through meditation practices that opened inner hearing to subtle energetic information about the recipient's condition and connected the practitioner's awareness with divine sources of healing wisdom and power that could guide the session toward optimal therapeutic outcomes. The case studies included in this section documented healing results that would be considered impossible by contemporary medical standards, yet were described with such precision and detail that their authenticity seems difficult to question. Pythagoras recorded complete recoveries from terminal illnesses through vocal healing alone, including detailed descriptions of the frequency protocols used, the duration of treatment required, and the step-by-step progression of healing that occurred as recipients' energy systems gradually shifted from chaos to cosmic order through sustained acoustic intervention. These cases included not only physical healing, but psychological transformation, spiritual awakening, and consciousness expansion that seemed to occur naturally as byproducts of the vocal healing process, suggesting that Pythagorean acoustic medicine addressed the whole person rather than isolated symptoms, and facilitated evolution toward optimal human potential, rather than merely returning recipients to previous states of health. Page 4. The Sacred Geometry of Sound. Chapter 4. Crystalline Mathematics of Healing. The sixth fragment, Codex Zeta, contained perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of Pythagorean acoustic medicine: the precise mathematical relationships between sound frequencies, geometric forms, and their manifestation in physical matter. What modern science would eventually term cymatics, but which Pythagoras understood as the fundamental creative principle underlying all existence. This section revealed that every healing frequency generated specific geometric patterns that could be observed not only in the energy field surrounding living beings, but actually crystallized into physical matter when the acoustic conditions were properly maintained and the practitioner's consciousness was sufficiently focused and purified. The manuscript described experiments that Pythagoras had conducted using sand, water, and metal filings to observe the geometric patterns created by different frequencies, discovering that each healing tone produced distinctive sacred geometric forms that corresponded exactly to the optimal energetic structures required for health in the corresponding organ systems. These geometric patterns were not merely visual curiosities, but represented the actual blueprints of perfect health that the acoustic healing worked to restore within the recipient's energy field and physical body, literally reshaping the molecular and cellular structures toward their optimal configurations through sustained resonance with mathematically precise geometric templates. The heart frequencies, when properly generated and sustained, created spiraling patterns based on the golden ratio that matched the optimal flow patterns for blood circulation and the electrical cascades that coordinate cardiac rhythm, while the liver frequencies produced hexagonal forms that corresponded to the molecular structures of the most important detoxification enzymes and cellular regeneration compounds. The brain frequencies generated complex mandala-like patterns that seemed to mirror the neural network configurations associated with enhanced cognitive function, expanded consciousness, and optimal neurotransmitter production, while the genetic frequencies created three-dimensional geometric structures that appeared to correspond to DNA configurations associated with longevity, disease resistance, and the activation of what Pythagoras termed divine potentials within the human genetic code. The manuscript included detailed diagrams showing how practitioners could use visualization of these geometric patterns to amplify the healing effectiveness of their acoustic work, essentially programming the healing frequencies with additional layers of mathematical precision that enhance their capacity to create positive changes in the recipient's physical and energetic systems. The planetary correspondence system described in this section revealed the cosmic scope of Pythagorean acoustic medicine, showing how each healing frequency resonated with specific celestial bodies and could therefore be enhanced by aligning treatment sessions with optimal planetary configurations and timing. The heart frequencies corresponded to the sun and were most powerful when applied during solar maximum periods and at times when the sun's electromagnetic activity was creating optimal conditions for cardiac healing, while the liver frequencies resonated with Jupiter and achieved maximum effectiveness when that planet was in favorable aspect to the recipient's natal chart and when Jupiter's gravitational influence was creating supportive conditions for detoxification and regeneration processes. The brain frequencies corresponded to Mercury and were enhanced by that planet's phases and positions, while the genetic frequencies resonated with Pluto and could tap into that planet's transformative energies to facilitate profound cellular and genetic restructuring that seemed to transcend normal biological limitations. The manuscript revealed that Pythagoras had discovered specific mathematical formulas for calculating optimal treatment times based on the combined influences of multiple planetary factors, solar activity, lunar phases, and even the recipient's individual astrological configuration and biorhythmic cycles. These calculations required sophisticated understanding of astronomical cycles and mathematical relationships that seemed almost impossible for someone working in the ancient world without modern computational tools. Yet the precision of Pythagoras's planetary correspondence system has been validated by contemporary research, showing measurable correlations between celestial cycles and biological processes, electromagnetic field fluctuations, and even genetic expression patterns that support the theoretical foundation for astrologically timed healing interventions. The timing protocols described in the manuscript could optimize healing effectiveness by factors of 10 or more, transforming moderately effective treatments into profoundly transformative healing experiences that created lasting results rather than temporary symptom relief. The alchemical dimension of Pythagorean acoustic medicine represented perhaps the most mysterious and powerful aspect of these ancient healing arts. The ability to use sound frequencies to literally transmute matter at the molecular level, facilitating healing processes that seem to violate conventional understanding of biological limitations and physical laws. The manuscript described how properly generated healing frequencies could influence the atomic structure of substances within the human body, transforming toxic compounds into harmless byproducts, converting diseased cellular material into healthy tissue, and even activating the production of substances that the body did not normally manufacture but that were required for optimal health and longevity. This acoustic alchemy required not only precise frequency generation, but what Pythagoras termed transmutational consciousness, a state of awareness that could perceive and direct the fundamental forces of molecular transformation through focused intention amplified by mathematical understanding of the harmonic principles governing atomic behavior. The manuscript included detailed protocols for using specific frequency combinations to dissolve kidney stones, neutralize bacterial and viral infections, eliminate cancerous cellular mutations, and even reverse the molecular damage associated with aging processes through acoustic interventions that seemed to operate at the quantum level of biological organization. These protocols required extraordinary precision in frequency generation, timing, and consciousness focus, and could only be safely applied by practitioners who had achieved complete mastery of the preparatory stages and demonstrated their ability to maintain the expanded states of awareness necessary for successful alchemical work. The results described in the manuscript suggested possibilities for healing that far exceeded anything available through conventional medicine, yet the techniques were presented not as magical procedures, but as applications of natural laws that could be understood, learned, and reliably applied by anyone willing to invest the time and effort required for proper training and consciousness development. The crystallization phenomena described in this section revealed that healing frequencies could actually create permanent changes in the molecular structure of substances exposed to prolonged acoustic treatment, transforming ordinary materials into what Pythagoras called sonic crystals that retained and radiated healing properties long after the original acoustic treatment had ended. Water that had been exposed to specific healing frequencies would maintain therapeutic properties for months or even years, creating what modern homeopathy recognizes as frequency-programmed remedies that could provide ongoing healing support between formal treatment sessions. Metals exposed to particular frequency combinations would develop enhanced therapeutic properties that made them useful for creating healing instruments, jewelry, and environmental objects that could provide continuous energetic support for healing and consciousness development. Even foods could be enhanced through acoustic treatment, with fruits, vegetables, and other natural substances developing increased nutritional value, improved digestibility, and enhanced healing properties through exposure to appropriate frequency combinations applied with proper timing and consciousness focus. The geometric consciousness training described in this section taught practitioners to maintain simultaneous awareness of multiple levels of reality during healing sessions. The acoustic level, involving precise frequency generation and maintenance. The geometric level, involving visualization and energetic programming of healing patterns. The biological level, involving awareness of the recipient's physical condition and response to treatment. The consciousness level, involving maintenance of expanded awareness states and connection with divine healing forces. And the alchemical level, involving direction of molecular transformation processes through focused intention and mathematical understanding. This multidimensional awareness required years of training to develop and could only be maintained by practitioners who had achieved extraordinary levels of concentration, consciousness expansion, and energetic sensitivity through disciplined application of the preparatory practices described in earlier sections of the manuscript. The validation studies that Pythagoras conducted to verify the effectiveness of his geometric acoustic healing revealed systematic methodology that anticipated modern scientific approaches by over 2 millennia, including control groups, standardized protocols, measurable outcomes, and statistical analysis of results that demonstrated clear therapeutic benefits from acoustic treatment compared to conventional approaches available during his era. The manuscript included detailed records of hundreds of cases involving various conditions and different treatment protocols, with careful documentation of frequencies used, geometric patterns visualized, timing factors, practitioner qualifications, and both immediate and long-term outcomes that could be objectively measured and verified. These studies showed consistently superior results from geometric acoustic healing compared to conventional treatments, with success rates that often exceeded 90%, even for conditions that were considered terminal or incurable through other means available during Pythagoras's time. The modern scientific validation of Pythagorean geometric acoustic principles has revealed remarkable correlations between ancient wisdom and contemporary understanding of physics, biology, and consciousness research that suggest the possibility of developing new healing modalities that integrate the best aspects of both approaches. Research in quantum mechanics has confirmed that matter does indeed respond to vibrational inputs at the atomic level, while studies in molecular biology have identified frequency-sensitive mechanisms within cellular metabolism that could theoretically be influenced through acoustic interventions. Investigations into consciousness research have documented measurable effects of focused intention on physical systems, supporting the theoretical foundation for consciousness-directed healing that was central to Pythagorean practice. Research in sacred geometry has revealed that many natural processes do indeed operate according to mathematical patterns that correspond to traditional geometric forms, while studies in cymatics have visually demonstrated how sound creates geometric patterns in matter that match many of the forms described in ancient texts. The integration of these scientific developments with the rediscovered Pythagorean techniques represents an unprecedented opportunity to develop healing approaches that honor both the precision of modern science and the wisdom of ancient tradition, creating therapeutic modalities that address not only physical symptoms but the geometric, energetic, and consciousness foundations of health itself. The geometric acoustic healing described in this manuscript offers a complete system for understanding and addressing disease at multiple levels simultaneously, from molecular transformation to consciousness expansion, providing tools for both acute intervention and long-term optimization of human potential that could revolutionize our approach to health and healing if properly understood and applied with appropriate training and ethical foundation. In page 5, The Temples of Resonance. Chapter 5, Sacred Architecture and Collective Healing. The seventh fragment, Codex Eta, unveiled the architectural principles that Pythagoras employed to create healing temples specifically designed to amplify and focus acoustic healing energies, revealing that the mystery schools were not merely places of learning, but sophisticated acoustic laboratories, where the physical structure itself participated in the healing process through mathematical precision in design, construction materials, and geometric proportions that transformed ordinary sound into extraordinarily powerful therapeutic forces. These temples were constructed according to specific mathematical ratios derived from cosmic harmonics, with dimensions, angles, and proportional relationships that created natural resonance chambers capable of amplifying healing frequencies by factors of hundreds or even thousands, while filtering out disharmonious vibrations that might interfere with therapeutic effectiveness. The manuscript described in precise detail how different chamber shapes produced different acoustic effects. Circular chambers created spiraling energy vortices that were optimal for deep cellular healing. Octagonal chambers generated complex harmonic series that could address multiple organ systems simultaneously, and chambers based on the golden ratio produced acoustic environments that seemed to facilitate direct connection with cosmic healing forces that transcended normal physical limitations. The construction materials specified in the manuscript were chosen not only for their acoustic properties, but for their capacity to store and radiate healing energies long after acoustic treatment sessions had ended, creating environments that provided continuous therapeutic support for anyone spending time within the sacred spaces. The foundation stones were selected for their crystalline structure and mineral composition, with specific types of quartz, granite, and limestone arranged in geometric patterns that created what Pythagoras termed earth resonance. Alignment between the temple's energetic field and the planet's electromagnetic grid that enhanced the effectiveness of any healing work conducted within the structure. The walls incorporated metals in precise proportions and locations, with copper, silver, and gold embedded in mathematical patterns that created acoustic amplification effects while simultaneously generating what modern researchers would recognize as beneficial electromagnetic fields that supported cellular regeneration and consciousness expansion. Even the mortar used to bind the stones contained specific mineral additives that enhanced the temple's acoustic properties and created energetic coherence throughout the entire structure. The most remarkable aspect of these temples was their capacity to facilitate what Pythagoras called collective resonance, healing sessions involving multiple practitioners and recipients that created synergistic acoustic effects far more powerful than the sum of individual contributions. The manuscript described healing circles where dozens of trained practitioners would combine their voices to generate complex harmonic structures that could simultaneously address the healing needs of multiple recipients while creating consciousness-expanding experiences for all participants that facilitated profound spiritual transformation alongside physical healing. These collective sessions required precise coordination and timing, with each participant assigned specific frequencies, geometric visualizations, and consciousness roles that contributed to the overall harmonic architecture of the healing experience. The temple design included specific acoustic features that enabled practitioners positioned throughout the space to hear and respond to each other's vocalizations with perfect clarity, while maintaining awareness of the collective harmonic patterns being generated and their effects on recipients and the acoustic environment itself. The manuscript revealed that these collective healing sessions could address not only individual conditions, but what Pythagoras termed collective pathologies, disease patterns, emotional disturbances, and consciousness limitations that affected entire communities and required coordinated healing intervention at the group level. The acoustic techniques described for these community healing applications involved generating frequency patterns that could influence large numbers of people simultaneously, creating what modern researchers might recognize as morphic field effects that facilitated healing and transformation throughout entire populations. The temple's acoustic design amplified these effects through resonance chambers that could project healing frequencies across considerable distances, with some temples apparently capable of influencing communities located many miles away from the actual healing sessions through acoustic propagation effects that seem to operate according to principles that modern science is only beginning to understand through research into scalar waves and non-local consciousness phenomena. The practitioner training for temple-based healing required mastery of not only individual vocal techniques, but sophisticated understanding of group dynamics, acoustic coordination, and what Pythagoras called collective consciousness navigation. The ability to perceive and guide the group awareness states that emerged during collective healing sessions. Practitioners learned to monitor the acoustic contributions of all participants while maintaining awareness of recipients' responses and the overall energetic coherence of the healing environment, making real-time adjustments to frequencies, timing, and visualization patterns that optimized therapeutic effectiveness while ensuring that all participants remained safely within their individual capacity to handle the powerful energies being generated. Advanced practitioners developed the ability to serve as acoustic conductors for large healing orchestras, coordinating the contributions of dozens of participants through subtle vocal signals and energetic direction that created seamlessly integrated healing experiences of extraordinary power and precision. The protective protocols described in this section revealed that temple-based healing required sophisticated understanding of energetic protection and interference shielding, since the powerful acoustic fields generated during healing sessions could attract unwanted energetic influences or create vulnerabilities that needed to be addressed through specific protective measures. The manuscript described geometric symbols and acoustic patterns that created energetic barriers around the healing space, preventing external interference while containing the healing energies within optimal boundaries that protected both participants and the surrounding community from potentially destabilizing effects of the powerful forces being generated. These protective measures included specific frequency sequences that cleared negative energetic patterns from the temple space before healing sessions, acoustic techniques for maintaining energetic boundaries during treatment, and closing protocols that safely dispersed residual energies and restored normal environmental conditions after intensive healing work had been completed. The resonant masks described in this fragment represented one of the most sophisticated acoustic technologies developed by the Pythagorean mystery schools, precisely crafted facial instruments that focused and amplified the healing power of human voice while protecting the practitioner from energetic backlash during intensive healing sessions. These masks were constructed according to mathematical specifications derived from sacred geometry, with internal chambers, air passages and resonance features that enhanced specific frequency ranges while filtering out harmful vibrations that might damage the practitioner's vocal apparatus or consciousness during extended healing work. The masks incorporated crystalline elements and metallic components that added harmonic complexity to vocalized frequencies while creating protective electromagnetic fields that shielded the practitioner's energy system from potentially overwhelming influences that could arise during particularly intensive healing sessions. Different mask designs were optimized for different types of healing work, with some enhancing the practitioner's ability to generate deep bass frequencies for cellular healing, others amplifying high-frequency ranges for consciousness expansion, and specialized masks that enabled practitioners to generate multiple frequency ranges simultaneously through acoustic features that created complex overtone series. The scalar wave applications described in this section revealed that Pythagoras had somehow discovered acoustic propagation effects that seemed to transcend normal physical limitations of sound transmission, enabling healing frequencies to reach recipients across vast distances, and even to influence people in different time periods through what the manuscript described as temporal acoustic bridging. These effects were achieved through specific combinations of frequency, geometric visualization, consciousness focus, and temporal acoustic features that created what modern quantum physics might recognize as non-local correlation effects, allowing healing energies to manifest wherever the practitioner's consciousness was directed, regardless of physical distance or conventional limitations of acoustic propagation. The manuscript included detailed protocols for establishing these scalar wave connections, maintaining them throughout extended healing sessions, and safely terminating them after treatment completion, with careful attention to the consciousness preparation and energetic protection required for practitioners attempting these advanced applications. The community healing protocols described systematic approaches for addressing collective health challenges that affected entire populations, including epidemic diseases, emotional disturbances that spread through social networks, and consciousness limitations that prevented communities from reaching their optimal potential for health, creativity, and spiritual development. These protocols involved coordinated healing sessions conducted simultaneously in multiple temples, with practitioners in different locations generating complementary frequency patterns that created regional or even continental acoustic fields capable of influencing large-scale healing and transformation processes. The manuscript suggested that these techniques had been successfully applied to end plague outbreaks, restore ecological balance in damaged environments, and facilitate consciousness evolution in entire civilizations through acoustic interventions that operated at levels far beyond individual treatment, but followed the same fundamental principles of harmonic restoration and geometric alignment that governed personal healing applications. The temple maintenance protocols revealed that these sacred healing spaces required ongoing acoustic and energetic care to maintain their therapeutic effectiveness, with specific frequency sequences that needed to be generated regularly to keep the temple's energetic field optimally calibrated and resonance chambers properly tuned for maximum healing power. The manuscript described daily, weekly, and seasonal maintenance rituals that preserved the temple's acoustic properties, while gradually enhancing its capacity for healing work through accumulated energetic refinement that could continue for decades or even centuries of proper care. These maintenance protocols included techniques for detecting and correcting acoustic degradation, methods for recharging the crystalline and metallic elements incorporated into the temple structure, and approaches for enhancing the temple's connection with cosmic healing forces through astronomical alignments and seasonal ceremonies that renewed and amplified the sacred space's therapeutic capabilities. The integration of temple-based healing with individual practice created comprehensive healing systems that could address both acute intervention needs and long-term optimization of human potential through coordinated acoustic work that operated at multiple levels simultaneously. Individual practitioners could prepare for temple sessions through personal frequency training that enhanced their ability to contribute effectively to collective healing work, while recipients could extend and amplify the benefits of temple treatment through ongoing individual practice of specific acoustic techniques that maintained resonance with the healing patterns established during group sessions. The manuscript described complete healing curricula that guided students through progressive mastery of individual techniques toward eventual participation in the most advanced collective healing applications, creating educational pathways that could transform dedicated students into master practitioners capable of facilitating profound healing and transformation for entire communities through sophisticated application of Pythagorean acoustic principles. Page 6. The Genetic Symphonies, Chapter 6, DNA Activation and Consciousness. Expansion. The 8th fragment, Codex Theta, contained what may be the most revolutionary discovery in the entire Pythagorean corpus. Detailed protocols for using specific acoustic frequencies to activate dormant genetic sequences and facilitate unprecedented levels of human consciousness expansion through what Pythagoras termed genetic symphonies. Precisely orchestrated acoustic interventions that could literally rewrite the biological and spiritual destiny of human beings by awakening genetic potentials that remained hidden within every person's DNA, but required specific vibrational keys to unlock their transformative power. This section of the manuscript revealed that Pythagoras had somehow intuited the existence of what modern science calls junk DNA, genetic sequences that appear to serve no current biological function, but which he understood to contain instructions for human capabilities far beyond anything demonstrated in recorded history, capabilities that could be activated through exposure to mathematically precise frequency combinations applied with proper timing, consciousness focus, and spiritual preparation over extended periods of dedicated acoustic practice. The genetic activation protocols described in this fragment were organized according to what Pythagoras called the 12 codes of divine potential. 12 distinct genetic activation sequences that corresponded to different aspects of enhanced human capability, including extraordinary longevity, disease immunity, enhanced cognitive function, psychic abilities, accelerated healing, increased physical strength and endurance, expanded sensory perception, direct energy manipulation, consciousness, projection, temporal perception, dimensional awareness, and what he termed cosmic consciousness. The ability to perceive and interact with the fundamental forces that govern universal manifestation. Each genetic code required specific acoustic protocols involving particular frequency combinations, geometric visualizations, breathing patterns, consciousness states, and sequential timing that had to be precisely coordinated to achieve successful activation without creating energetic imbalances or biological stress that might damage the recipient's physical or psychological well-being during the transformation process. The longevity code, designated as alpha genetics in the manuscript, involved a complex acoustic protocol using frequencies of 222 Hz, 528 Hz, and 741 Hz applied in specific sequential patterns that could stimulate the production of telomerase throughout the entire body, effectively reversing cellular aging at the genetic level and restoring the biological age of organs and systems to their optimal youthful condition. The protocol required daily acoustic treatment for a minimum of 90 days, with each session lasting precisely 43 minutes and involving specific breathing patterns that synchronized the recipient's cellular rhythm with the acoustic frequencies while maintaining visualization of geometric patterns that Pythagoras had identified as corresponding to optimal genetic expression for longevity and vitality. Recipients who successfully completed this protocol reportedly demonstrated biological age reversal of 10 to 20 years within the 90-day treatment period, with continued practice leading to biological ages that seemed to stabilize at optimal levels regardless of chronological age advancement, effectively achieving what modern anti-aging research seeks through technological intervention, but which Pythagoras accomplished through acoustic genetic activation alone. The disease immunity code involved acoustic activation of genetic sequences that enhanced the immune system's capacity to recognize and eliminate not only conventional pathogens, but cancerous cellular mutations, autoimmune dysfunctions, and even genetic disorders that normally would be considered permanently embedded in the person's biological destiny. The acoustic protocol used frequencies of 396 Hz, 417 Hz, and 852 Hz in rotating patterns that stimulated the production of specialized immune cells and protective enzymes, while simultaneously activating genetic repair mechanisms that could correct inherited genetic defects and restore optimal immune function, even in cases where the immune system had been severely compromised by disease, environmental toxicity, or pharmaceutical damage. Recipients who underwent this genetic activation process reportedly demonstrated complete immunity to infectious diseases and showed remarkable recovery from supposedly incurable conditions, with their immune systems becoming so robust that they could safely work with contagious patients and contaminated environments without any risk of infection or illness. The Psychic Abilities Code represented perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of Pythagorean genetic activation, involving acoustic protocols that could awaken genetic sequences responsible for telepathic communication, clairvoyant perception, precognitive awareness, telekinetic abilities, and other consciousness capabilities that conventional science considers impossible, but which Pythagoras understood as natural human potentials that had been suppressed through genetic dormancy and could be restored through proper acoustic activation. The frequencies involved in this protocol included 936 Hz, 1074 Hz, and 1174 Hz, applied in complex harmonic patterns, while the recipient maintained specific meditation states and geometric visualizations that created optimal conditions for consciousness expansion and psychic awakening. Students who successfully completed this genetic activation reportedly developed reliable telepathic abilities, accurate precognitive insights, and measurable telekinetic effects that could be demonstrated under controlled conditions and used for practical applications, including medical diagnosis, distance healing, and consciousness-based problem-solving that transcended normal intellectual limitations. The Consciousness Projection Code enabled recipients to develop what Pythagoras called astral mobility, the ability to project consciousness beyond the physical body and gather information, provide healing, and even influence physical events at distant locations through focused intention and energetic projection. The acoustic protocol involved frequencies of 1285 Hz, 1396 Hz, and 1456 Hz, combined with specific breathing techniques and consciousness exercises that gradually loosened the connection between awareness and physical form while maintaining sufficient energetic coherence to ensure safe return and integration of out-of-body experiences. Advanced practitioners who mastered this genetic activation could maintain conscious awareness during sleep states, gather information from distant locations with remarkable accuracy, provide healing treatments to recipients hundreds or thousands of miles away, and even influence physical events through consciousness projection alone, essentially developing capabilities that modern research into remote viewing and distant healing is only beginning to document and understand. The Dimensional Awareness Code activated genetic sequences that enabled perception of what Pythagoras termed parallel realities, alternate dimensional states that coexist with ordinary physical reality but remain invisible to normal sensory perception and can only be accessed through consciousness that has been genetically activated to perceive beyond conventional dimensional limitations. Recipients who underwent this acoustic genetic activation reported the ability to perceive spirit beings, access information from deceased individuals, communicate with non-physical intelligences, and even influence events across multiple dimensional levels, simultaneously through consciousness work that operated according to principles transcending normal cause and effect relationships. The acoustic protocol required exceptional preparation and could only be safely applied to recipients who had already successfully completed several of the preliminary genetic activation codes and demonstrated stable integration of the consciousness changes that resulted from earlier genetic awakening processes. The manuscript included detailed case studies documenting the results of genetic activation protocols applied to hundreds of students over several decades of experimentation and refinement, with careful records of acoustic frequencies used, treatment durations, consciousness preparation requirements, and both immediate and long-term effects of genetic activation on recipients' physical health, psychological well-being, and spiritual development. These case studies revealed success rates that varied depending on the specific genetic code being activated and the individual recipient's preparation and commitment to the process, but overall demonstrated that genetic activation was possible for the majority of students who completed proper preparatory training and maintained disciplined practice of the acoustic protocols for the required duration. The most remarkable cases involved students who successfully activated multiple genetic codes over extended periods, developing combinations of enhanced capabilities that seem to represent evolutionary advances in human potential far beyond anything documented in conventional human development. The consciousness expansion effects of genetic activation extended far beyond the specific capabilities associated with individual genetic codes, creating what Pythagoras described as dimensional consciousness, awareness that naturally perceived multiple levels of reality simultaneously and could navigate between different dimensional states with ease and precision. Recipients who achieved advanced genetic activation reported that their ordinary consciousness became permanently expanded to include psychic perception, energetic awareness, and direct knowing that transcended intellectual understanding while remaining fully functional in normal physical reality. This expanded consciousness enabled them to serve as bridges between dimensional levels, facilitating healing and communication for others while maintaining the grounded perspective necessary for practical effectiveness in ordinary life circumstances. The integration protocols described in this section emphasized that genetic activation was not merely a mechanical process of applying specific frequencies, but represented profound spiritual transformation that required corresponding development of wisdom, compassion, and ethical understanding to safely handle the enhanced capabilities that resulted from acoustic genetic awakening. Students underwent extensive ethical training and spiritual preparation before being permitted to attempt genetic activation, with careful screening to ensure that their motivations were aligned with service to others rather than personal gain or ego enhancement. The manuscript stressed repeatedly that genetic activation capabilities could be misused in ways that would create harm for both the practitioner and others, and that proper spiritual foundation was essential for safe and beneficial application of these extraordinary human potentials. The modern scientific validation of acoustic genetic influence has revealed remarkable correlations between ancient Pythagorean understanding and contemporary research in epigenetics, which has demonstrated that genetic expression can indeed be influenced by environmental factors, including sound, electromagnetic fields, and consciousness states. Research into DNA acoustics has shown that genetic material does respond to specific frequencies, and that acoustic treatment can influence cellular behavior in ways that support the theoretical foundation for genetic activation through sound. Studies in consciousness research have documented measurable effects of meditation and acoustic treatment on genetic expression, while investigations into psychic phenomena have provided increasing evidence for human capabilities that correspond to many of the abilities described in Pythagorean genetic activation protocols. The convergence of these scientific developments with the rediscovered ancient techniques suggests that we may be approaching a new era of human development, where genetic activation through acoustic intervention becomes a recognized and systematic approach to consciousness evolution and capability enhancement. Page 7. The Clinical Archives. Chapter 7. Documented Cases and Modern Validation. The ninth and most comprehensive fragment, Codex Iota, contained the complete clinical archives of the Pythagorean healing temple, documenting over 300 cases of acoustic healing that were recorded with extraordinary precision and detail, providing what may be the most comprehensive collection of alternative healing documentation from the ancient world, and revealing therapeutic results that would be considered miraculous by contemporary medical standards, yet were apparently achieved routinely through systematic application of the acoustic healing principles described in the earlier fragments. These clinical records were maintained by trained scribes who worked under Pythagoras's direct supervision, documenting not only the presenting symptoms and healing outcomes, but the complete acoustic protocols used, the consciousness states achieved by both practitioners and recipients, the geometric patterns visualized during treatment, the timing factors including lunar phases and planetary alignments, and the step-by-step progression of healing that occurred throughout the treatment process, creating a comprehensive database of acoustic healing applications that provides unprecedented insight into the practical effectiveness and systematic methodology of Pythagorean medicine. The case of Apollodorus the merchant, recorded in meticulous detail across 17 papyrus sheets, documented the complete acoustic healing of advanced liver cirrhosis that had been considered terminal by the conventional physicians of Alexandria, yet was completely reversed through a 90-day acoustic treatment protocol that began with diagnostic vocalization to map the energetic imbalances throughout his hepatic system, continued with daily frequency applications using the liver healing protocol of 317.83 Hz and 528 Hz, applied in specific geometric patterns, while Apollodorus maintained visualization of hexagonal healing forms and practiced the breathing of the spheres technique, and culminated in genetic activation sequences that restored his liver to optimal function and apparently activated enhanced detoxification capabilities that enabled him to process toxins more effectively than he had ever been able to do even in his youth. The documentation included weekly observations by multiple witnesses, verification of healing progress through examination by conventional physicians who were not informed about the acoustic treatment, and follow-up records extending for 5 years after treatment completion that confirmed permanent reversal of the condition, with no recurrence of symptoms, and continued optimization of liver function that seemed to improve rather than deteriorate with age. The case of Theano, the priestess, provided extraordinary documentation of acoustic healing of what modern medicine would recognize as advanced ovarian cancer, with detailed records showing how genetic activation protocols were combined with specific feminine healing frequencies to not only eliminate the cancerous tissue, but restore optimal reproductive function and hormonal balance, while simultaneously activating what Pythagoras termed goddess consciousness, expanded awareness, and spiritual capabilities that seem to emerge naturally as byproducts of the healing process. The treatment protocol involved 396 Hz for cellular purification, 528 Hz for DNA repair, and 741 Hz for consciousness expansion, applied in sequential patterns synchronized with lunar cycles and combined with visualization of specific goddess archetypes and sacred feminine geometric forms that enhanced the healing effectiveness while facilitating profound spiritual transformation that continued long after physical healing was completed. The documentation revealed that Theano not only recovered completely from her cancer, but developed psychic healing abilities and expanded consciousness that enabled her to serve as a master healer herself, eventually treating hundreds of other women with similar conditions using the acoustic protocols that had restored her own health. Perhaps the most remarkable case documented in these archives was that of Timaeus the philosopher, who suffered from what the records described as complete paralysis of mind and body, following a traumatic head injury that would correspond to severe traumatic brain injury with associated physical paralysis in modern medical terminology, yet was restored to full cognitive and physical function through acoustic protocols that appeared to regenerate damaged neural tissue and restore neural connections that conventional medicine would consider permanently severed. The treatment involved brain healing frequencies of 40 Hz and 7.83 Hz, combined with consciousness expansion protocols and genetic activation sequences that stimulated neuroplasticity and neural regeneration to degrees that seemed impossible according to contemporary understanding of brain injury and recovery. The documentation included detailed cognitive assessments conducted before, during, and after treatment that revealed not only complete recovery of previous intellectual capabilities, but significant enhancement of memory, creativity, and philosophical insight that exceeded his pre-injury levels of cognitive function, suggesting that the acoustic treatment had optimized his brain function beyond its original condition rather than merely repairing damage. The pediatric cases documented in these archives revealed that children responded even more dramatically to acoustic healing than adults, with success rates approaching 100% for conditions ranging from genetic disorders to severe infections that would be considered life-threatening by conventional medicine. The case of young Marcus, born with what modern medicine would recognize as severe congenital heart defects that made survival beyond infancy unlikely, documented complete structural repair of cardiac abnormalities through acoustic treatment protocols that began within days of birth and continued for 6 months, resulting in perfect cardiac function and normal growth and development that continued throughout his documented lifespan. The treatment involved heart-healing frequencies of 341, 3 Hz and 426.7 Hz, combined with genetic activation protocols that appeared to rewrite the genetic instructions governing cardiac development, essentially correcting the genetic errors that had caused the original defects and establishing optimal genetic expression for cardiovascular health that would prevent similar problems throughout his lifetime. The epidemic response protocols documented in these archives revealed how acoustic healing was successfully applied to address community-wide health crises, including detailed records of plague outbreaks that were completely eliminated through coordinated acoustic interventions involving multiple temples and hundreds of trained practitioners generating healing frequencies simultaneously across entire regions. The documentation described systematic approaches to identifying the acoustic signatures of infectious organisms, developing specific frequency protocols that could neutralize particular pathogens, and coordinating large-scale acoustic interventions that could eliminate epidemic diseases from entire populations within weeks or months of implementation. These community healing protocols apparently achieved success rates that exceeded anything documented in medical history, with complete elimination of diseases that had previously devastated populations and establishment of collective immunity that prevented recurrence of similar outbreaks for generations after the acoustic interventions were completed. The psychological and spiritual healing cases documented in these archives demonstrated that acoustic healing addressed not only physical conditions, but emotional disorders, psychological disturbances, and spiritual disconnections that conventional medicine typically treats as separate issues requiring different therapeutic approaches. The case of Helena the courtesan documented complete healing of what modern psychology would recognize as severe post-traumatic stress disorder, major depression, and multiple personality disorder through acoustic protocols that integrated consciousness healing frequencies with genetic activation sequences and spiritual development practices that restored psychological wholeness while facilitating profound spiritual awakening and expanded consciousness capabilities. The treatment involved frequencies specifically designed to heal emotional trauma stored in cellular memory, activate genetic sequences associated with emotional resilience and psychological integration, and facilitate connection with spiritual dimensions of awareness that provided ongoing support for emotional well-being and continued psychological development long after formal treatment was completed. The documentation of practitioner training and development revealed the systematic educational approaches that enabled students to master these extraordinarily sophisticated healing techniques, with detailed curricula that progressed through multiple levels of acoustic training, consciousness development, spiritual preparation, and practical application under close supervision of master healers who had demonstrated complete mastery of all aspects of Pythagorean acoustic medicine. The training programs typically required 7 to 12 years of intensive study and practice, with students advancing through preliminary stages of breathing training, basic frequency generation, geometric consciousness development, and ethical preparation before being permitted to attempt more advanced applications involving genetic activation, consciousness expansion, and community healing protocols that required exceptional skill and spiritual maturity to apply safely and effectively. The modern scientific validation documented in this section revealed remarkable correlations between contemporary research findings and the ancient Pythagorean understanding of acoustic healing, with studies in cymatics confirming that sound does indeed create geometric patterns in matter that correspond to the sacred forms described in ancient texts. Research in epigenetics demonstrating that genetic expression can be influenced by environmental factors, including sound and electromagnetic fields. Investigations in neuroscience showing measurable changes in brain structure and function in response to specific acoustic inputs, and studies in quantum biology revealing that biological systems operate according to quantum mechanical principles that involve vibrational phenomena that support the theoretical foundation for acoustic healing applications. Recent research in biofield science has documented the existence of electromagnetic fields surrounding living organisms that correspond to the energy fields described in ancient healing traditions, while studies in psychoacoustics have revealed that specific frequencies can induce measurable changes in consciousness states, emotional responses, and physiological functioning that validate many aspects of traditional acoustic healing approaches. The integration protocols described for combining ancient wisdom with modern technology revealed possibilities for developing new healing modalities that honor both the precision of contemporary science and the effectiveness of traditional acoustic medicine, creating therapeutic approaches that could address the complete spectrum of human health challenges, from molecular dysfunction to consciousness expansion, through systematic application of scientifically validated acoustic interventions. Enhanced by modern understanding of frequency generation, measurement, and application. These integrated approaches could potentially revolutionize medicine by providing healing techniques that address root causes rather than superficial symptoms, facilitate genuine healing rather than symptomatic management, and optimize human potential rather than merely treating disease, creating healthcare systems that support the complete spectrum of human development, from physical health to spiritual awakening, through acoustic interventions that have been tested and refined through thousands of years of practical application. The philosophical implications of acoustic healing extend far beyond medical applications to encompass fundamental questions about the nature of reality, consciousness, and human potential that challenge conventional materialistic assumptions and suggest that we exist within a fundamentally vibrational universe where consciousness and sound are primary creative forces that can be consciously directed to facilitate healing, transformation, and evolution toward optimal human potential. The Pythagorean understanding of acoustic healing represents not merely an alternative medical system, but a complete worldview that recognizes the sacred nature of existence and the extraordinary capabilities that become available to human beings who align themselves with cosmic principles of harmony, proportion, and mathematical precision that govern all natural phenomena and can be accessed through disciplined practice of acoustic arts that transform practitioners into conscious participants in the ongoing creation and maintenance of universal harmony and balance. Page 8. The Sacred Implementation. Chapters 8. The Complete Practice and Future of Vibrational Medicine. The 10th and final fragment, Codex Kappa, contained the most precious treasure of all, the complete practical implementation guide that transformed the theoretical knowledge and documented cases into a systematic methodology that modern practitioners could adapt and apply, bridging the 25th-century gap between ancient wisdom and contemporary application through detailed protocols, musical notations, consciousness preparation techniques, and step-by-step instructions that honored both the sacred nature of this work and the practical requirements for effective healing in the modern world. This concluding section of the manuscript represented Pythagoras's final gift to humanity, a complete system for implementing acoustic healing that could be learned and applied by dedicated students regardless of their cultural background, religious beliefs, or previous experience with healing arts, provided they approached the work with appropriate reverence, ethical commitment, and willingness to undergo the consciousness development necessary for safe and effective application of these powerful techniques. The fundamental practice protocol began with what Pythagoras termed harmonic attunement, a daily preparation routine that gradually developed the practitioner's acoustic sensitivity, vocal capabilities, and consciousness alignment through systematic exercises that could be practiced by anyone willing to invest 30 minutes each morning in breathwork, vocal training, and meditation practices specifically designed to prepare the human instrument for healing work. The morning attunement sequence involved breathing in mathematical ratios that synchronized the practitioner's energy system with cosmic rhythms, vocal exercises that developed precise frequency generation capabilities, and meditation practices that expanded awareness to perceive the subtle energetic information necessary for effective healing applications. This daily practice gradually transformed the practitioner's consciousness and capabilities over months and years of consistent application, creating the foundation of sensitivity, precision, and spiritual alignment required for advanced acoustic healing work. The musical notations preserved in this fragment provided exact specifications for generating healing frequencies using conventional musical instruments, human voice, or modern electronic equipment, with precise measurements in both ancient Greek musical notation and mathematical frequency specifications that could be translated into contemporary Hertz measurements and applied using current acoustic technology. The heart healing sequence was notated as a specific melodic progression in the Dorian mode, with fundamental frequencies at 341.3 Hz and 426.7 Hz, sustained for precisely timed intervals and combined with harmonic overtones that created the complex acoustic patterns necessary for cardiac healing effectiveness. The liver cleansing protocol was preserved as rhythmic patterns in the Phrygian mode using 317, 83 Hz and 528 Hz, with specific timing sequences that synchronized acoustic treatment with the organ's natural detoxification cycles and enhanced therapeutic effectiveness through mathematical precision in frequency application and duration. The brain enhancement notation represented perhaps the most sophisticated musical composition in the entire manuscript. A complex harmonic structure involving 40 Hz gamma frequencies for consciousness expansion, 83 Hz, Schumann resonance for planetary synchronization, and specific overtone series that created acoustic environments conducive to neuroplasticity, enhanced cognitive function, and expanded awareness states that could be maintained during normal daily activities. This musical healing composition required considerable skill to perform accurately and could be adapted for solo practice using vocal techniques, ensemble performance involving multiple practitioners, or electronic generation using modern frequency equipment that could maintain the mathematical precision necessary for optimal therapeutic effectiveness. The genetic activation scores preserved the most advanced acoustic healing protocols in musical notation that specified not only the fundamental frequencies and harmonic structures, but the precise timing, consciousness states, visualization patterns, and energetic techniques that needed to be coordinated with acoustic generation to achieve successful genetic activation without creating biological stress or energetic imbalance during the transformation process. The longevity activation sequence was notated as a ceremonial composition lasting 43 minutes and involving progressive frequency shifts that guided the recipient's consciousness through specific states of awareness, while acoustic frequencies stimulated genetic mechanisms responsible for cellular regeneration and biological age optimization. The psychic activation protocol was preserved as an even more complex composition, involving acoustic techniques that seemed to operate beyond normal physical limitations of sound transmission, creating what the notation described as consciousness resonance that facilitated direct telepathic connection between practitioner and recipient during genetic activation procedures. The modern implementation guidelines recognized that contemporary practitioners would need to adapt ancient techniques to current technological capabilities while maintaining the essential consciousness elements that made acoustic healing effective, providing specific recommendations for using electronic frequency generators, recording equipment, and acoustic amplification systems that could reproduce the healing effects achieved through ancient bronze instruments and temple acoustics. The guidelines emphasized that technological enhancement could amplify the effectiveness of acoustic healing, but could never replace the consciousness development, spiritual preparation, and ethical foundation that remained essential components of safe and effective healing practice, regardless of the equipment used to generate frequencies or measure therapeutic outcomes. The practitioner certification standards outlined systematic training programs that could be implemented in contemporary educational settings, with detailed curricula progressing through multiple levels of acoustic healing competence, from basic frequency generation and breathwork through advanced genetic activation and consciousness expansion techniques that required years of dedicated study and supervised practice to master safely and effectively. The certification requirements included not only technical proficiency in acoustic generation and therapeutic application, but demonstrated mastery of the consciousness states, ethical principles, and spiritual development that Pythagoras considered essential qualifications for anyone attempting to practice acoustic healing, particularly the advanced applications involving genetic activation, consciousness expansion, and community healing that could create significant effects and therefore required exceptional responsibility and wisdom to apply appropriately. The safety protocols preserved in this section address the potential dangers and contraindications associated with acoustic healing, providing detailed guidelines for recognizing and preventing the energetic imbalances, psychological disturbances, and physical complications that could result from improper application of healing frequencies, inadequate practitioner preparation, or attempts to use acoustic techniques for purposes other than genuine healing and spiritual development. The manuscript emphasized repeatedly that acoustic healing was not merely a mechanical process of applying specific frequencies, but represented sacred work that required appropriate motivation, consciousness development, and spiritual protection to practice safely, with specific warnings about the consequences of using these techniques for personal gain, ego enhancement, or manipulation of others, rather than genuine service to healing and human development. The integration with conventional medicine protocols provided practical guidelines for combining acoustic healing with contemporary medical approaches in ways that enhanced rather than conflicted with standard treatment, while maintaining appropriate professional boundaries and ethical standards that honored both healing traditions without creating legal or professional complications for practitioners working within conventional healthcare systems. The guidelines emphasized that acoustic healing could serve as a powerful complement to conventional treatment, but should never be presented as a replacement for appropriate medical care, with specific recommendations for collaboration between acoustic healing practitioners and conventional healthcare providers that could optimize healing outcomes while maintaining safety and professional integrity for all participants. The research validation protocols outlined systematic approaches for documenting and verifying the effectiveness of acoustic healing applications using contemporary scientific methodology, providing frameworks for conducting controlled studies, measuring therapeutic outcomes, and publishing results that could contribute to growing scientific understanding of vibrational medicine, while maintaining appropriate protection for the sacred aspects of this work that might be diminished or corrupted through purely materialistic scientific investigation. The manuscript suggested that careful scientific validation could help establish acoustic healing as a legitimate therapeutic modality, while preserving the consciousness elements and spiritual dimensions that were essential components of effective practice and could not be reduced to purely mechanical procedures or technological applications. The future vision preserved in this final section described Pythagoras's prophetic understanding of how acoustic healing would eventually be integrated with advanced technology, expanded consciousness, and evolved human capabilities to create healing modalities that would seem miraculous by current standards, yet would represent natural applications of cosmic principles that governed health, consciousness, and human potential. This vision included healing technologies that combined acoustic generation with consciousness amplification, genetic optimization systems that use sound to activate optimal human potentials, and community healing networks that could address collective health challenges through coordinated acoustic interventions applied simultaneously across multiple locations and dimensional levels. The closing ceremony described the ritual completion that sealed the practitioner's initiation into the sacred lineage of Pythagorean acoustic healing. Acknowledging their acceptance of the responsibility to use these techniques only for genuine healing and spiritual development, while maintaining the ethical standards and consciousness requirements that preserve the integrity and effectiveness of this ancient wisdom for future generations. The ceremony involved specific acoustic techniques that created energetic protection for the practitioner, established connection with the spiritual lineage of master healers who had preserved and transmitted this knowledge across millennia, and activated the practitioner's own healing capabilities through acoustic initiation that awakened their genetic potential for serving as a conduit for cosmic healing forces. The final words of the manuscript expressed Pythagoras' confidence that future generations would expand and enhance these techniques beyond anything he had imagined, while maintaining the essential principles of love, wisdom, and service that made acoustic healing a sacred art capable of facilitating not only individual healing, but collective evolution toward optimal human potential and cosmic consciousness. The manuscript concluded with a blessing for all who would study and apply these teachings, expressing gratitude for their willingness to serve as instruments of healing and transformation, while acknowledging the extraordinary privilege and responsibility of participating in the ongoing revelation of cosmic principles through dedicated practice of acoustic healing arts that connected human consciousness with divine creative forces operating throughout the universe.